You know, guys, I got to tell you, I thought I was ready to move on, but I'm not. I'm stuck on Chandler. And you want to know I'm stuck on Chandler? It's out of my respect for Chandler. If this was Chandler of 5 years ago, I would have moved on with my day. Because Chandler 5 years ago was a competitor. Purely, solely, that was all. If you paid him, if there was opportunities, if he could be a main event, if there was a title on the line, but that he was a competitor, he was looking for a match. But he's morphed. He's a very tactical and very smart guy. In fact, I cannot think of anybody that has sat as long as Chandler has sat. And I'm going back through the history of the sport. I'm going back to 1993. I can't think of anybody that I observed that sat whose stock went up more than Michael Chandler's. Michael Chandler's stealing headlines. Michael Chandler could show up to a pay-per-view and get camera time without fighting. Michael Chandler could go to Monday Night Raw and do a call-out for a fight that isn't even signed. So, out of my newfound respect and appreciation for Chandler, who has embraced the rest of the business, the entertainment side, I can't move on beyond his call-out of Nate Diaz for the spear. Chandler knows or thinks he knows something. That call-out was for a reason. First off, the sphere, stop. Just stop with it already, okay? And maybe you don't go to Las Vegas, so maybe you don't know. The sphere, day and night, is playing Jerry Garcia. Jerry Garcia is a dork, just so you understand.
And dead.
They interrupted dorky dead Jerry, who now is like an ice cream. Why would you eat an ice? If you thought of Jerry Garcia and there was anything appetizing about that, which with all due respect, right? I mean, the guy is dead. But you don't look at that slob and think, that makes me hungry. Well, unless you're a stoner, and then you do, which, by the way, ties in with the only thing that they're doing at the Sphere. Until they stood down to hold a draft for a sport that nobody in our sport watches. I was there when it went on. I want to tell you it was hockey, but there was a chance it was baseball. I literally was there. I had to drive past it. This was a week ago, and I don't know what they were drafting. I think it was hockey. Do you want to know I tell you that? Because I fought at Madison Square Garden, a venue that actually matters, with Michael Chandler. And do you want to know how impressed Michael Chandler was to be on that card? Try this. None. He did not care about the venue. And you're not going to convince me that all of a sudden Michael Chandler now cares about the spear. So why did he say it? And why did he call out Nate Diaz? Why did he call out Nate Diaz, who isn't under contract? Why did he call out Nate Diaz, who has not gone through the testing pool, of which I fully admit we don't fully understand, but we can reasonably assume if it held Conor for 180 days, it's going to hold Nate for 180 days. Why would he do that? Did he misspeak? Hey, you catch Chandler at the right moment. Chandler's at home. He happened to watch the boxing match. Nate won. He was going to call out Masvidal. Masvidal won. Nate won. He just followed the script. Hey, he had an interview. Hey, yeah, I'm going to fight him at the spear. Maybe 5 years ago, Chandler would have done that for sure. But I'm not convinced today's Chandler did, which brings me back to why did he do it? He called out a fight that he can't get against an athlete. And the reason he can't get it, well, let's start with it's not in his weight class, for one. Let's follow up with it's a gentleman who's not under contract with the Ultimate Fighting Championship, where he is under contract. Let's start with it goes to the Sphere, which we have been told in no uncertain terms as an industry is going to be Shevchenko-Grosko in a co-main event. And is going to be Topuria Holloway in a main event. So now Chandler, who's a main event fighter, calls out, obviously a main event fighter, for something that is not only not main, it's not even co-main, which means it's not going to happen. I don't think so. Maybe. It is maybe. I mean, I give a maybe, but I don't think so. I think Chandler knows something. In fact, I think I know what he knows. Now you gotta understand, when I say Chandler knows something, okay, I do mean, in fairness, that he believes he knows something. But we all have to go on that, man. You run your career based on who's your source, what kind of information you can get, and then what strategic moves can you make if that information is true. I mean, right, so when I'm telling you what it is Chandler knows, I just in case I misspeak during this, I'm telling you what I think he thinks he knows. And Michael Chandler would have never interrupted a media cycle about himself to try to create a media cycle about himself. And he is not dead yet on the idea that he's fighting Islam until he either says yes or no to Islam, of which calling for somebody else does. That says no to Islam. So, what is it that Chandler knows? What is it that I think I know Chandler knows, whether we're both wrong or not? What I think he knows, and what I think he sees as the one big problem, is that there is a chance that he gets bumped for Diaz McGregor. That Chandler believes their history, that trilogy, the potential conclusion of two iconic careers. Like if you could get both of those guys to agree, this is it. And you could even get the UFC to say, this is it. Not for nothing is a very big match. So, Chandler, the way he sees it, could stay after McGregor and make sure that his case, which is the hotter of the two cases right now, stays and that flame stays. But he's well enough to know if Diaz starts calling out McGregor and McGregor starts liking that call out, he knows that could hurt him. He knows that could hurt his case no matter what deal he has in place with the UFC. The UFC, as soon as they offered him a world title fight, has now honored that deal. Do you understand that? You got to understand that. And if you guys came from a highfalutin penthouse, you're not gonna. If you came from the streets, you're going to understand this. When the deal was, we will give you McGregor, but then we offer you something higher than McGregor, that deal is now satisfied, right? If I owe you $100 and I come in and I offer you $1,000, it doesn't matter if you take the $1,000 or you say no to it. I now don't owe you $100. I tried to pay it. No, you didn't. You tried to pay me $1,000. Yeah, but I tried to pay you $1,000, which passed $100. Do you really not understand that? But I'm making sure that you guys understand, because this is a code. You've got to know that. The moment he was offered Islam, the words will never be spoken. I can't get you McGregor. I don't promise you McGregor, or my promise towards McGregor no longer stands. The moment he was offered Islam, that promise no longer stands. It might happen. You might make the most compelling case. You might get the fight, but my promise to you that you will get it is gone. Do you get that? I think that you get that. But whether you do or don't, Chandler gets it, and he's the one that needs to get it. So Chandler saw himself in a potential battle for Conor's attention, or Nate having Conor's attention. So to get in front of it, called out Nate. That was a smart move. That was a really smart move. If Nate now tries to come in and go after Conor, when Chandler's already called him first, and that is the triangle, the Nate-Chandler-Conor triangle. Called out a guy in a different weight class who's not under contract for a venue he doesn't care about, but it's pretending he does, for a mid-card spot. I don't know if I've uncovered it or not. The only thing I'm completely sure of is Michael Chandler, when he called out Nate Diaz for the Sphere, was working a different angle and did not mean he wants to fight Nate Diaz at the Sphere. That I'm sure of.